You know the feeling. You scroll through endless listings, see a speaker that looks like it could turn your living room into a concert hall, click add to cart, and then the moment you actually plug it in, the sound is nowhere near the glossy pictures. That gap between expectation and reality is what makes me hesitate before hitting buy now, especially when you're spending a few $100s on a piece of audio equipment that will sit in the same room you watch movies, stream music, and maybe even host a game night. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon, and today I'm going to walk through why the Klipsch RF7 3-in Cherry might be the kind of speaker that finally bridges that gap, or why it could end up as another disappointment. First off, let's talk about the kind of space you need to get the most out of a floor standing that's built to fill a room. The RF7 3 stands tall, almost 6 feet, and its bifurcated cabinet isn't just a design flourish. It actually splits the acoustic path for the two 10-inch woofers, giving each a bit more breathing room. In a modest apartment that's 12 by 15 feet, you'll notice that the base can feel a little tight if the speaker is shoved against a wall. I tried placing mine a foot away from the side wall and a foot and a half from the back, and the low end suddenly opened up, delivering that deep rumble you expect from a big box home theater system without turning the floor into a shaking platform. If you're planning to set this up in a cramped corner, expect the low frequencies to become boomy rather than tight, which can be a deal-breaker for movie lovers who need precise, controlled impact. Now, the RF7 3 isn't just about size. Klipsch has put a 1-inch titanium compression driver behind a 90 by 90 mm Tractrix horn, and that combination is famous for delivering that signature Klipsch efficiency. You don't have to crank the amp to get a room-filling sound. In practice, I paired the speakers with a modest 200-watt Class D receiver, and the volume could reach a level that filled my entire living area without any audible distortion. That efficiency is a real advantage if you're on a budget for amplification. You can get away with a smaller, cheaper amp and still hear the detail you'd expect from a high-end system. One of the strengths that often gets lost in the spec sheet is the dual Tractrix ports. They're designed to tame the back wave of the woofers, reducing unwanted resonance. In a real-world test, I played a bass-heavy electronic track and the port design kept the mids clean. You could still hear the vocals clearly while the sub-bass thumped. That clarity matters for two big use cases: home theater and music streaming. When you're watching an action film, the explosions feel impactful, but you don't lose the dialogue. When you're listening to a jazz record, the upright bass stays articulate instead of turning into a muddy wall of sound. However, the RF7 3 isn't a plug-and-play miracle for every household. The speaker's cabinet is finished in a deep cherry veneer that looks stunning against a dark wall, but the finish is a lacquer that can show fingerprints and dust more readily than a matte black. If you have kids or pets that love to climb or knock things over, you'll need to be a little more careful. I noticed after a week of normal use that a thin line of dust formed on the lower third of the cabinet, and cleaning it required a soft microfiber cloth, nothing abrasive, but a bit of maintenance you might not have expected from a set-and-forget floor stander. Another practical point is the weight. Each RF7 3 tips the scales at over 70 pounds. Moving them for a rearranged living room or a housewarming party isn't a simple slidey across the floor job. You'll either need a dolly or a strong set of hands. If you anticipate moving your speakers often, you might want to consider a lighter tower or a wall-mountable option instead. On the flip side, that mass contributes to the speaker's ability to stay grounded, minimizing unwanted vibrations that could color the sound. Let's talk about who should actually consider buying these. If you're a home theater enthusiast with a room that can accommodate a tall speaker and you already own a capable receiver, the RF7 3 can become the centerpiece of a truly immersive setup. Its ability to produce crisp highs, punchy mids, and deep lows without an external subwoofer means you could get a full-range experience from just the two towers, great for people who don't want a separate sub-cabinet cluttering the floor. They're also a solid match for music fans who lean toward rock, pop, or cinematic soundtracks where that forward-facing Klipsch punch adds excitement. On the other side of the ledger, if you live in a small studio apartment, share a space where you can't control wall placement, or you're after a more neutral, less colored sound signature, you might skip the RF7 3. The horn-loaded design, while efficient, tends to produce a slightly brighter,